Hello and welcome. Tonight, security agencies pledge to ensure hitch-free governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi State. Chief of Defense Staff says military court-martial has been activated to check unprofessional acts by military personnel. It's time to move the nation forward. Former President Goodluck Jonathan urges political leaders, maintains that Nigeria has all it takes to lead Africa despite her current challenges. Retired Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Mohammed Dattijo, warns that absence of Southeast and North Central region in Supreme Court poses danger to Nigeria's democracy.
On business news tonight, NNPC Limited set to meet Senate over financing exploration and development of new frontiers in some parts of the country.
On sports news tonight, Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou tips the scales at their official weigh-in ahead of their highly anticipated heavyweight boxing bout in Riyadh tagged Battle of the Baddest.
And from Abuja, Governor Babagana Zulum of Boro State affirms significant improvement in security in the state, says efforts now focus on resettling displaced communities.
And in international news from London, the top UN official providing aid to Palestinian refugees in Gaza says people there feel shunned, alienated and abandoned.
It's roughly 2 weeks to the off-season governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states, and the security agencies appear poised to make the exercise hitch-free. In light of this, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, says the Nigeria Armed Forces have activated military court-martial to handle any unprofessional act during the polls. The NSA and Inspector General Police are also giving assurances that the elections will be devoid of violence. They were speaking at a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security in Abuja.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the National Security Advisor are meeting heads of security agencies to perfect the security arrangements for the forthcoming governorship elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa states. The INEC chairman and the NSA are the co-chair of the Interagency Consultative Election Security Committee, and the electoral umpire is here to brief the committee on security concerns for the elections.
Ultimate responsibility for election security lies with the security agencies. Our message to the security agencies is to take decisive action against perpetrators of electoral violence. This is the surest way to guarantee a safe environment for the peaceful conduct of elections and electoral activities.
NSA is confident that adequate security arrangement is already in place in the 3 states.
We want to give assurance to Nigerians that this election will be even better than whatever we have had in the past. This election is going to be free and fair. This election will be without interference. This election is going to be without violence.
The meeting then goes into a closed-door session, after which the Inspector General of Police and the Chief of Defense Staff speak about the deployment and conduct of operatives during the exercise.
We have carried out our threat assessment, and that has informed us with respect to allocation of our resources and deployment of our men. My appeal to people who may want to come out to make trouble during this election is to stay away from this election, because there will be no place for them to operate in this election. We are deploying massively to Imo State and make sure that Imo State, the election in Imo State is free and fair and is hitch-free.
We have court martials on standby. Any of the members of the armed forces who misbehaves in whatever ways will have himself to blame. The court martials are fully operational already. We want to ensure that we act professionally in everything that we do.
The meeting concludes by warning any troublemaker to stay away from the states, as they plan to deal with anyone that causes violence on election day.
as campaigns ahead of the elections heat up. Women and youths from the 9 local government areas of Imo East Senatorial District today gathered at the Ndubisi Kano Square in Owerri, the state capital, to endorse Governor Hope Uzodinma for a second term in office. Addressing party supporters at the campaign rally, leaders of the zone asked the other contestants in the Imo State governorship race from Owerri zone to respect the Charter of Equity and step down for Governor Uzodinma to finish his second term. Meanwhile, Governor Uzodinma's campaign team was also in Oru West local government area to woo potential voters.
Large crowd of APC supporters and indigents from the 9 local government areas making up Imo East Senatorial District, popularly called Owerri Zone, are here for Owerri Zone Youths and Women Endorsement Rally for Governor Hope Uzodinma's re-election bid.
The majority leader in the House of Assembly.
The event begins with the arrival of the APC candidate and Governor of Imo State, Mr. Hope Uzodinma, his wife, Choma, and his running mate, Chinyere Ekomaru. First to address the gathering is the Imo State APC chairman, MacDonald Ebere, who hails from the Owerri Zone.
Owerri Zone is for you. Your Excellency, you have done well. You have done well, Your Excellency. All the things you have done in Imo State within a short period of time. If you are re-elected, it will be good for Imo people in the next 4 years.
When he mounts the stage to speak, the governor highlights what he has been able to do for young people across the state and chides those blaming him for instigating insecurity in Imo State.
Our mission is to create an economy that will be robust enough to take care of all of us. And I don't mind is the devil's workshop. When we are busy, and we are effectively busy, we'll be able to create prosperity. We'll be able to cure poverty. We'll be able to bring happiness to our people.
Governor Uzodinma's campaign moves to Mbidi in Oru West local government area of Imo State for the Ohaji Egbema, Uguta and Oru West Federal Constituency rally.
West and Oru East, Galwak down.
Here, a leader of the area urges the people to come out en masse and vote Governor Uzodinma in the November 11 governorship election.
Before now, medical facilities were nonsense. But now you can go to hospitals and get a very good medical delivery.
Governor Uzodinma appreciates the people for their support in the last 3.5 years. He says more good things will happen if he gets a second term.
We will create jobs. We will repair our state. We will cure poverty. We will build infrastructure. We will encourage education. There will be a very good medical care.
With just over 2 weeks to the election, Governor Uzodinma says he will continue to work to improve the fortunes of Imolites, adding that things can only get better with an APC government in place.
Meanwhile, the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Kogi State, Mr. Dino Melaye, is assuring residents of the state that his administration will revive the oil-producing local governments in the eastern part of the state. He's also promising that he will focus on infrastructural development if he wins the election, while condemning the state of the roads. The PDP candidate made the pledge during his campaign in Angpa local government area of Kogi State.
Angpa local government area of Kogi State is the latest stop for the campaign train of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. The candidate's first stop is the palace of the Ej of Angpa Kingdom.
If about 50% of those people vote for your daughter, I think the calculation we made in zeroing in on somebody from Angpa as our running mate, we have already won.
Only to ask for prayers, because you are closer to God than us, and you have been ordained by God your children to be blessed. So we are here to receive prayers from you, because I know between you and the Almighty Allah, there is no network failure.
A royal blessing follows the speech. At the Ankpa Stadium, the party also received some decampees.
We are receiving you in the name of Bismillahi, and you will enjoy PDP by saying Alhamdulillah. So you are welcome to our party.
The campaign team urges the people to vote massively for the party.
When I become governor, we are going to take advantage of that oil-producing area. Today, the only benefit for Igala land and Kogi State is on paper. I will transform from paper to paper money.
Come and vote. Give your votes to the PDP, and we assure you we will not disappoint.
The residents of Ankpa local government area are promising to mobilize votes for the victory of the party in the November 11 governorship election. Hopefully, the candidate will reciprocate by fulfilling his promises to them if he wins at the polls.
Well, staying with the campaigns in Kogi State, where the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Leke Abejide, is promising massive infrastructure development in the state if elected. He expressed displeasure over what he says is the lack of healthcare facilities in many local government areas, vowing to address the challenge. Mr. Abejide made the promise during his campaign in Bassa local government area of the state.
It is the turn of Bassa local government area of Kogi State for the campaign train of the African Democratic Congress. The party is promising to embark on massive infrastructure development in the state if elected.
Your road is impassable. I promise KBC, if you people can vote for me and I win, I said, before I'm sworn in as governor, and before Dr. Mede is sworn in as deputy governor, we will start working on this road.
I dey feel no worries. I dey feel the insecurity around the place. All the pain we una dey get. Would they come to change those pain? We, na new wine in new bottle.
The chairman of the party highlights the unique selling point of Mr. Leke Abejide as he expresses optimism that he will do more for Kogi State if elected as governor.
We know what you have been doing in your constituency as a House of Rep member. When you get to Lugard House, we know that you will remember us.
The campaign train also makes a stop in Omala local government area. The ADC governorship candidate again makes a case for the people to vote for him.
To come and thank you for your support. And I believe that you will give us support to the end. I want to beg you. You know this is your son from here.
The candidate also promised to improve security and provide better learning and health facilities for the people of the area.
In part two, after the break, we have more on the election in Kogi State as a forum endorses the governorship candidate of the APC. Plus, former President Goodluck Jonathan urges political leaders to collaborate, says it's time to move the nation forward following the Supreme Court judgment affirming President Tinubu's victory. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Security agencies pledge to ensure hitch-free governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi State. Chief of Defense Staff says military court-martial has been activated to check unprofessional acts by military personnel. It's time to move the nation forward. Former President Goodluck Jonathan urges political leaders, maintains that Nigeria has all it takes to lead Africa despite her current challenges. Retired Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Mohammed Datijo, warns that absence of Southeast and North Central regions in Supreme Court poses danger to Nigeria's democracy. And top UN official providing aid to Palestinian refugees in Gaza says people there feel shunned, alienated and abandoned. We're back in Kogi State, where the Forum of former members of the State House of Assembly has endorsed the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Usman Ododo. The chairman of the forum, Mr. Al-Hassan Adakeke, confirmed the position of the forum at a media briefing in Lokoja, the state capital. He explains that the forum is convinced that Mr. Ododo has the capacity to move the state forward.
Among the candidates jostling for the #1 seat, he is the most qualified, the most experienced, the most prepared, and the best man for the job. Apart from his message of consolidation and continuity, Honorable Ahmed Usman Ododo possesses character traits of great leadership and leaders. He is accessible, humble, brilliant, devoid of negative drama that have dotted the histories of his compatriots. As former lawmakers, we are proud of the symbolic relationship between the two assemblies that have worked with Governor Yahaya Bello. A good numbers of laws were passed that have helped to provoke development in our dear state. The local government audit law was excellently implemented by the former Auditor General for local government and now the candidate of All Progressive Congress, Honorable Al-Hassan Usman Ododo. Our state supported the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we continue to support him to succeed.
Following yesterday's judgment of the Supreme Court affirming the victory of President Bola Tinubu, former President Goodluck Jonathan says political leaders and former presidents of Nigeria must come together and work for the good of the country. Dr. Jonathan also maintains that Nigeria has what it takes to lead the continent despite her current economic challenges, adding that the issues arising from the presidential election is over and it's time for the nation to move forward. We were speaking after a closed-door meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa.
Yes, we have challenges economically now, but we still have what it takes to lead. And these are some of the issues I will continue to have a conversation with Mr. President, including briefing him on all my foreign programs, because they are not personal issues. As traditionally, former presidents go outside the country for these continental, regional programs, even some international. You come home and you tell your president. So that's the tradition. So most of the time when you see me here, it's because of this thing that we must do. And to move Nigeria forward, to move ECOWAS forward, to move the African continent forward. We need to bring everybody, all our political leaders, including all the former presidents, together. We will not be fighting. If we fight, like, this common saying that when two elephants fight, the grass suffer. If top leaders continue fighting, they will not suffer that much, but it's down through that suffer. And we want to end all this tension and so on, so we move forward as a nation.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan. Meanwhile, senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Teda, says party leaders in major political parties in Nigeria are the major challenge facing the electoral process. Speaking against the backdrop of the Supreme Court judgment on the 2023 presidential election, Mr. Teda believes a lot remains to be done to correct the electoral process. He was a guest in our political program, Politics Today.
Even with the judgment, it is very clear that Nigeria has a long way to go in terms of ensuring that credible elections are conducted, elections that will be devoid of acrimony, elections that all of us will be proud of. Judges are not suited to determine the winners of elections. That is a job that is exclusively reserved for INEC if things are done properly. And that is why we must put an end to the shame that has become our Lord in terms of conducting elections. We recorded the highest number of pre-election cases this year, 1,878. The Federal High Court, for several months, couldn't handle any other case, because the National Assembly, again, outside the provisions of the Constitution, decided to task the Federal High Court, with the enormous responsibility of dealing with pre-election matters. And why did that happen? Party shiftings in the majority of the political parties put the Electoral Act aside and decided to impose candidates on the electorate. So many aggrieved persons went to court. In 2019, we had about, 750 pre-election cases. And those are the guys who are challenging INEC for not conducting good elections. So the members of the Nigerian political class will have to be tasked by the Nigerian people. We have to be challenged by the Nigerian people, whether they want democracy or autocracy, whether they want popular democracy as opposed to bourgeois democracy, whether they want maximum participation of the Nigerian people as opposed to, participation in the election by a few money bags.
Well, and the news is not over just yet as we head to Abuja for more stories. Nelta, good to see you. It's over to you.
Thank you, Millicent, and welcome to the Abuja studios. A former justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Muhammad Dachijo, has highlighted what he terms a danger for the country's democracy to have the southeast and north-central regions not represented in the nation's Supreme Court. Justice Dachijo stated this at a valedictory court session held to mark his retirement from the Apex Court, having attained the statutory retirement age of 70 years. A Niger State-born jurist who spent 43 years in the judiciary notes that with his retirement, justices on the bench of the Apex Court have reduced to 10.
As the justices who hear these matters are grossly overstretched, unable to meet the demands of their onerous assignment, the litigants who approach the court seeking justice are left in limbo, waiting endlessly for justice to be served. These, as I have said before, are avoidable. While I exit today, the North Central Zone that I represent ceases to have any representation until such a time new appointments are made. My Lord Honorable Justice Ejembi Eko, who also represented the zone, retired on the 23rd of May 2022. My Lord Honorable Justice Sylvester Mwani Umbuta, JSC, died on the 7th of March 2021. I repeat, 2021. There has not been any appointment in his stead for the Southeast. To ensure justice and transparency in presidential appeals, thank God they have been heard and determined. All geopolitical zones need to be represented They are required to participate in the hearing of such appeals. It is therefore dangerous, or it was therefore dangerous, for democracy and equity for two entire regions to be left out in the decisions that affect the generality of Nigerians.
Meanwhile, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, has given assurance that efforts are in top gear to elevate a number of justices to the apex court.
His Lordship's retirement today has further depleted our ranks and opened a yawning gap that will hardly be filled. With him leaving us today after the retirement of Honorable Justice Adamu Amina Augi a few weeks ago, we are now left with just 10 justices on the Supreme Court bench, being the lowest we have ever had in contemporary history of the court. However, I can confidently assure all the litigant public that efforts are in top gear to get on board a sizable number of justices to boost our rank and complement the tremendous effort we have been investing in the business of the court.
And on to some encouraging news from Boro State as Governor Babagana Zulum expresses his confidence in the substantial improvement of the security situation, with efforts now geared towards resettling displaced communities. Governor Zulum stated this after a meeting with the president at the presidential villa. He says President Tinubu has promised the government and people of the northeastern states of his readiness to tackle the menace of insurgency in the country.
To be sincere and candid, security situation in Boro State has improved by more than 85%. Economic activities is ongoing perfectly in Boro State. I just read some script a few days ago saying that insurgency is increasing in Boro State. The story is not right. The Nigerian army are giving us the desired cooperation. The police, the paramilitary, as well as Air Force and all other components of the Nigerian military are supporting us. Honestly speaking, none of the 27 local government areas of Boro State are under the control of insurgents. However, we have few local governments that we want to ensure that people are completely resettled. Now people are partially settled there, especially Abadam local government and then Gudamala local government. But by and large, in terms of security situation in Boro State, I think the government is doing very well. The Nigerian military are also doing very well. And then nothing has happened. We keep on improving. I have had a series of consultations with the president, and the president has assured the government and the people of the entire northeastern states that he will provide the necessary equipment needed to curtail the menace of insurgency, not only in the northeast, but in the entire country.
In other stories, 10 couples have been selected as recipients of the Bidun Igodo Foundation grant as part of activities at the 5th Parents Waiting Conference in Lagos. The chairman of the Bidun Igodo Foundation, Pastor Ito Igodo, says the idea is to support those who are trusting God for their own babies. According to him, it's also a way of ensuring that his late wife's legacy lives on.
For more than 12 years, and we went for places, we went for churches, we went for different hospitals until we came to this place. To the glory of God, we are one of the beneficiaries.
Testimonies from families who waited years to become parents show that it's not a pleasant experience.
In fact, she said it was positive.
The desire to help such couples birthed the Bidun Igodo Foundation, conceived by the late wife of the founder, Trinity House Pastor Ito Igodo, in 2016. Having travelled down this road herself, Bidun Igodo established the foundation to raise awareness on all other possible options to conceive a child and provide grants to families who require fertility treatments.
Collaborating with AFRH, the Association for Fertility and Reproductive Health,
of Nigeria.
Even after her death, her legacy lives on. The 5th Parents in Waiting Conference Succeeding in Childbirth holds at the Trinity House, Victoria Island, Lagos. Her husband and chairman of the Bidun Igodo Foundation is grateful for the support to sustain the dream.
Thank you so much for being a very constant help and support in times like this. Ibiduni, we love you very much.
Medical experts in the house engaged the gathering on preconception strategies, prenatal and postpartum healthcare.
The sooner we start engaging with professionals to check our preconception viabilities, the sooner we do it, the better. Whatever condition you present with to your doctor, the recommendation that they're giving you, keep an open mind and accept the options that you have.
Every pregnant woman or every woman trying to get pregnant should start folic acid at least 3 months before getting pregnant and must be continued first 12 weeks of pregnancy. The whole aim is to prevent neural tube defects.
A co-founder of World Women Organization, Sarah Nystrom, shares her waiting story and how she eventually became a mother.
I took for granted that of course I would get pregnant in no time. Do you think I did? No, I didn't. Months became a year, and we did checkups, we did a fertility investigation. And then I couldn't find anything obvious with any of us, but we were scheduled for IVF treatment. I became pregnant immediately, but it failed. What I didn't know then was that I was already pregnant. I was pregnant in my heart with the most beautiful little boy in a country far away from mine. And we decided to adopt.
And wife of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Mrs. Bola Obasanjo, speaks about the importance of the work being done by the foundation to families.
The Bidun Igodo Foundation stands as a beacon of hope, as a sanctuary of support, and a fortress of strength for family navigating the complexities of childbirth and infertility.
Beneficiaries of the Bidun Igodo Foundation encourage parents in waiting not to despair and not to give up.
We're part of the beneficiary of the 2021 grants, and today we have come with our testimonies. We could not come last year because I think they were just like a month hold when the program had. So we want to appreciate the organization. We say thank you, sirs, thank you, man. And for those that will be coming on board, I just want to tell you that God makes everything beautiful at his own time.
Today, you have the list. They will come up one by one.
10 couples are selected and supported with grants to take a leap of faith that they will carry their babies.
And we ask that God will make them fruitful.
The vision is to build a mother and child center for Ibiduni. So we've been pursuing that dream. It's going to cost a lot of money, but ironically, we're going to be partnering with one of the Lagos State government hospitals in the Aja area, okay, that have given us the opportunity to help them finish one of their facilities, and then that will be the beginning of various mother and child centers that she will be having.
Over 20 babies have been born through the Bidun Igodo Foundation, and the non-profit organization says it's willing to keep the initiative going through voluntary donations to help Ibidun Igodo live her dreams.
I'm hoping that in 5 years' time, we would have lost count of how many babies God has blessed the foundation through.
On that joyful and hopeful note, we end news from the Abuja studios. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Nauta. Well, it's another feat as businessman and philanthropist Mr. Femi Teda has made a donation of 1 billion naira to Augustine University in Ilare-Ekpe, Lagos State to help assuage the plight of parents and students of the institution. 140 million naira of the amount will go to the furnishing of the completed engineering faculty building and 110 million naira for the installation of street lights and a new generating set. The donation is to commemorate Mr. Tedola's appointment as the second chancellor of the university.
It's the 5th convocation ceremony of Augustine University in Ilara Ekpe, Lagos State. But that's not all that makes the day special for the school. It's also the inauguration of a new chancellor of the university, Mr. Peter Olufemi Otedola. Mr. Otedola is a Nigerian businessman and philanthropist who will be appointed as the second chancellor of Augustine University since its inception. Mr. Teda is first invested with an academic gown by the chairman of the Board of Trustees and the vice chancellor of the university, a sign of his new role as chancellor. He then goes ahead to constitute the assembly as a congregation.
I hereby constitute this assembly as a congregation of the Augustine University for the purpose of awarding diploma certificate, conferring degrees, and presenting awards.
As the new chancellor, he promises to work towards the growth of the school.
Having accepted, I intend to work for the advancement of the growth of the university to ensure it is listed in the ranking charts amongst top universities in Nigeria and among the top Catholic universities in the world.
Mr. Teda also makes a total donation of 1 billion naira to the Augustine University to commemorate his appointment as the chancellor.
I hereby announce a scholarship donation to each returning student of the university and each new first-year student of our university, the amount of 1 million naira each, towards the 2023-2024 session school fees of each student, making a total scholarship donation of 750 million naira. I also donate 140 million naira towards the furnishing of the completed engineering faculty building, and a further 110 million towards the installation of street lights around the campus and new
Augustine University, Ilara Ekpe, is a faith-based private university established by the Catholic Archdiocese of Lagos to foster student learning through high-quality, career-oriented education.
To company news, First Bank is partnering the Nigerian Conservation Foundation to plant 50,000 trees in an attempt to regrow the Nigerian forest cover. It is believed that the nation's forest cover has dwindled significantly from 40% at independence to less than 10% today. The tree planting project is part of the bank's celebration of its annual Week of Kindness, an avenue to give back to and foster positive change within communities where they work.
Call it a new dawn at the Lekki Conservation Center and you won't be wrong. The presence of the top management of First Bank, led by its managing director, says it all. They've come to forge a new partnership with the Nigerian Conservation Foundation on the occasion of the bank's Corporate Responsibility and Sustainability Week to revamp the country's ailing forest cover, which has significantly dwindled over the years.
We want to do tree planting to restore the habitat. And once we are restoring, it means that we are going to build back what used to be. And that is why we bring people to the Lekki Conservation Center to show people what nature can do if you allow nature to thrive.
The NCF's ambitious plan to regrow the country's forest cover needs support, and First Bank finds this a laudable and viable project.
What is most important is our commitment to working with you and other like-minded organizations to push this agenda of an ecosystem that is friendly, that allows the country itself to grow, but also allows nature to continue to exist.
this gives us an idea of what it used to be.
The plan is to plant 50,000 trees, and the team makes its way to the field for the commemorative event.
When you look at the twin problem of desertification and erosion, these are major impact of nature. At First Bank, we made up our mind that we would, as usual, because we are woven into the fabric of the society, we will be part of the finding solution.
We need about 235 million trees, and that would cost in the region of 200 plus billions. I think it behoves all of us to do our part to contribute. Every well-meaning organization needs to be able to contribute towards that, because that's only reclaiming about 25% of what's being lost.
By this exercise, First Bank is proving to understand not just financial matters alone, but that every support given to the environment is a support for the survival of the human race.
Business News is next. Here's Anne Wilder.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says it plans to meet with the leadership of the Senate over the financing and development of new frontier across the country. The chairman, Senate Committee on Gas, Ajaribe, made this known to newsmen today after a closed-door meeting with a delegation from the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission. According to the state oil firm, the areas include regions like Anambra, Dahomey, Bida, Sokoto, Chad, and Benue, where hydrocarbon exploration is yet to occur or remains underdeveloped. Well, the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 introduced the Frontier Exploration Fund to help support exploration and development in Nigeria's frontier acreages. The National Pension Commission, PENCOM, says that it has successfully recovered 25.13 billion naira from defaulting employers within the last 11 years. In a statement released today, the Commission explains that it's made this achievement from inception of the recovery initiative in June 2012 to end of the year in September. According to PENCOM, the sum comprises 12.8 billion naira principal contributions and 12.33 billion naira penalties for delayed payment. The Commission has attributed the recovery to the Pension Reform Act 2014, which stipulates that all eligible employees must maintain a retirement savings account with a pension fund administrator of their choice. Let's head to the domestic market. It ended Friday's trading session back in positive territory, so the color is green today. Renewed bargain hunting continued from investors as they lifted the overall equities value to 28.3 billion naira today. John Mekwa has the details.
And for the final time this week, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, gaining 68 naira in a single trading session is a great way to end the week. That's the story of Seplat. After trading about 583,000 in volume and more than 1.10 billion in value, Seplat changed the color of the market today, but not just the color of the market, but also the color of its counter. Remember that oil and gas has been pretty uncertain in recent times. Well, it's closed gloriously in the green, 2.31%, changing the story of that exciting one there. Banking, the figures gained, a little here, a little there, but that brings the counter back up there, 0.59%. Consumer goods, however, is on the flip side because of Nigerian breweries and flour mills. They lost, and so the counter is down 0.25%. Of course, this means that the oil share index is in the green today. No matter how small, we'll celebrate it, 0.08%. Even though this here is still too close for comfort, we hope to have bigger gains to push us deep into the 67,000. 36.885 trillion naira is the market cap this Friday, and this means that the bull has the floor for the weekend.
Thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Nwawado. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Millicent. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Anne. Israel says its ground forces are expanding operations tonight in Gaza. This comes as explosions hit the Gaza Strip, leaving in its trail disruption in communication and internet services. Here's Simon Pusey with other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The top UN official providing aid to Palestinian refugees in Gaza says people there feel shunned, alienated and abandoned. It comes as Israel said it has conducted targeted raids in the central area of the Gaza Strip and struck dozens of Hamas targets. The Israel Defense Forces said Shadi Baroud, the deputy head of Hamas's intelligence arm, was killed in an operation. Another 8 trucks carrying food, medicine and water are expected to cross into the Gaza Strip as a combination of technical, political and security issues hinder deliveries. There is still no agreement to get fuel into Gaza. The UN says civilians in Gaza feel abandoned as only crumbs of aid get in.
Just to put things in comparison, there were 450 trucks going into Gaza before October 7th. And that was under some very, very strict restrictions in terms of goods being able to get into Gaza. We are down now to approximately 12. So from 450 down to 12.
A manhunt for a US Army reservist suspected of murdering 18 people and injuring 13 others in a mass shooting in Maine has entered its second day. Robert Card is said to be armed and extremely dangerous, and residents are still being told to shelter in place. Officers raided a home in Bowdoin but departed several hours later. Lewiston, a city of about 38,000 people, is on lockdown. Schools, as well as most local businesses, are staying closed on Friday. The White House has said Russia is executing soldiers who try to retreat from a bloody offensive in eastern Ukraine. According to the US, some of the casualties suffered by Russia near Avdiivka were on the orders of their own leaders. Russian and Ukrainian troops have been locked in a fierce battle for the frontline town since mid-October. Ukrainian estimates put the number of Russian casualties in Avdiivka at 5,000, while the US says that Russia has lost at least 125 armoured vehicles and more than a battalion's worth of equipment. China's former deputy leader Li Keqiang has died after suffering a sudden heart attack. The 68-year-old English-speaking economist had once been considered a contender for the country's top job, but was passed over in favour of Xi Jinping. Under the centralising grip of President Xi and his amassing of ever greater powers, China's premier and second in charge became increasingly sidelined. Chinese state media said he died while resting in Shanghai and that all-out efforts to revive him had failed. Satellite images in Mexico's Acapulco shows the devastating destruction where Hurricane Otis flooded streets, ripped roofs off homes and left a trail of wreckage across the city of nearly 900,000. Otis claimed the lives of at least 27 people, Mexico's government said, after one of the most powerful storms to hit the country hammered the beach resort of Acapulco, causing damage seen running into the billions of dollars. The storm intensified unexpectedly rapidly off the Pacific coast. It flooded hospitals and hundreds of patients had to be evacuated to safer areas. The government declared a state of emergency in the region but has given few details about how the 27 people died or how many others were injured. Fear has gripped residents in Naples since a so-called supervolcano sparked a swarm of earthquakes. Campi Flegrei is a unique volcano that resembles a bowl-shaped crater with sulphurous fumes, giving the area a surreal atmosphere and drawing tourists to what's known as the Solfatara. It is home to over 360,000 people residing around its submerged crater, with an additional 2.3 million people living in close proximity. For weeks now, the government has been planning a possible mass evacuation. A 4.2 magnitude earthquake that struck the area last month has sparked fears that a seismic crisis is underway for the first time since the early 1980s. The last time the area went through such a crisis, it lasted several years and prompted the government to temporarily evacuate 40,000 people. And EU leaders have taken a selfie with the outgoing Luxembourg Prime Minister Xavier Bettel on his last Brussels summit. Elections earlier this month left his Liberal-led coalition without a majority, ending his decade in power, making him one of the longest-serving leaders sitting round the summit table. Polyglot Bettel, whose quips at summit doorsteps frequently summed up the mood in the room, saw the EU through crises including Brexit and COVID-19. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The wife of Edo State Governor, Mrs. Betsy Obaseki, has presented consolation prizes of 750,000 naira each to the first round losers in the ongoing pre-season women football tournament in Benin City, the Edo State capital. While making the presentation at the Samuel Ugbemudia Stadium, Mrs. Obaseki says the standard of the tournament has been improving with each passing edition, noting that the number of participating teams could be increased in the coming years. In less than 24 hours, the highly anticipated heavyweight bout between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou will be decided in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Both boxers tipped the scales at the official weigh-in earlier today ahead of the battle of the baddest. The Cameroonian weighed 124.4 kg to Fury's 126 kg. They speak to the media in what to expect on Saturday night. Elsewhere, South Africa's assistant rugby coach, Unzwandile Stake, says the defending champions have been training since 2018 for the Saturday's Rugby Cup final. The outcome of Saturday's match will award a 4th World Cup title to either South Africa or New Zealand. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Melissa.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. Security agencies today pledged to ensure hitch-free governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states. Just as the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, said, military court-martial has been activated to check unprofessional acts by military personnel during the polls. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and do have a great weekend.